Welcome to my American History Notes, where I discuss conclusions I've drawn from American history. Um, if you might not agree with my conclusions, but you should at least know about the characters and the events and the places that I discuss. So to be understanding of on American history, to be knowledgeable in it. So just at least study. If you don't agree with me, at least study. So you might see a cat wander in and out of my video. Don't worry about it. I don't. And we'll be brief. So Henry Dunster, first president of Harvard, refused to have his child baptized in 1653 and was forced to resign his position. Eventually, he lost all of his property in lawsuits. The colony of New Haven in present-day Connecticut began in 1638. Yale College began in 1701. With Harvard and Yale, the argument over infant baptism became more fierce, excuse me, and produced a compromise called the Halfway Covenant, which allowed heretics to bring their children to a quote proper church to be baptized if they so wished. In 1700, Puritan minister Solomon Stoddard declared that the Christian church was a national church and that all baptized persons ought to come to the Lord's Supper even if they knew themselves to be in an unsaved condition. Lost people were now invited to the Lord's Supper. Individual churches have been inviting people to communion as early as 1663, Beller tells us. Excuse me. In 1707, Stoddard proclaimed that even an unregenerate minister who had been baptized could preach. What had gone on inside of a person did not count so much as the authority of the church he submitted to on the outside. The halfway covenant made it unnecessary to be born again to be a Christian in Stoddard's eyes. Stoddard was Jonathan Edwards' grandfather. Although Stoddard's vision had been realized in the Saybrook platform, it was actually written by James Pierpont, a minister of the New Haven Congregational Church. In 1703, Stoddard witnessed his grandson Jonathan Edwards born, and in 1710, Pierpont's daughter Sarah was born. In 1727, Jonathan Edwards married Sarah Pierpont. The Episcopalian Church embraced the idea of a national church and began a successful campaign to be the standing order church, the official church of Virginia and Georgia. The Standard Confession of Faith in New England from 1708 became the Saybrook platform containing the Halfway Covenant. Increased Mather condemned its liberality before his death, knowing it would destroy Congregationalism. In 1715, New England's ministers prevented legislation to make ministerial taxes mandatory for all counties. They received permission to prosecute every town or district who neglected to support their standing order minister. Early in all of this debate, Dr. John Clark and Roger Williams went back to England to confirm their colony's charter in order to keep Rhode Island from being overtaken by this religious tyranny. The king had a bad habit of revoking charters and forcing them to be reestablished, one of the many actions which led to the revolution. Clark spent 11 years of his life securing the existence of Rhode Island. In October 1659, two Quakers, William Robinson and Marmaduke Stevenson, were hanged for returning to Massachusetts after being banished. A third, Mary Dyer, was forced to watch. She returned again after being released and was herself hanged. William Leedra followed her to the hanging tree for dissident religious beliefs. In 1662, a revision of the Anglican Book of Common Prayer, which was anti-Puritan and was called the Act of Uniformity or the Clarendon Code, turned over 2,000 preachers out of their pulpits, but provided a boost for American liberty and the widespread disgust it provoked. Politicians who opposed it were beheaded at the king's orders. So next, we're going to discuss Sir Edmund Andros and a few other things. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you spurs you to study about your history.